Assalamu alaikum. So we have my dear brother Bashir, and we're going to have a rematch debate about this question of is hell forever? I'm trying to make it more entertaining. I'm not that competitive, but let's call it a rematch. I thought it'd be funny. I was actually quite pleased with the last discussion. It was the first time somebody actually gave an argument based on the Quran that I thought, oh, I gotta recheck that. In fact, I was actually maybe possibly being a bit lazy last time because it's so obvious. I thought hell can't be forever. That's kind of an insult to God. But anyway, I've done a lot more research, and hopefully it'll be a lot more compelling. My argument. So, but who am I? I'm an Ahmadi Muslim. That means that's true Islam. It's like the when Jesus came to the Jews, that was a small group. It was a what's the word? Begin with R or something. Anyway, it's kind of like so. What did Jesus do? He had to bring back people back to true Judaism. So that's what the second coming of Jesus, who I follow, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad.
Reform?
Reform. Thank you. Appreciate that. I don't even know basic words anymore. I am. There's something going on. Um,
You've been living in Jordan, bro. You don't speak a lot of English daily, so
it could be, that's an interesting point. So that's me. Bashir is an ex Ahmadi. And do you want to say anything about yourself? I mean, I'm in Jordan. You're in California. Anything else you want to say?
yeah. And I just want to say, brother Khalid is really a nice guy, a level-headed guy, a very good brother. I'm so glad that I met you. You've changed my perspective on what amnies are. Even though maybe the sample size is a little small, but no, like you do what you're supposed to do, whereas a lot of some people might be combative, when you're more with love and compassion. So I really appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you too as well. I think when I come on your streams, you give me loads of time to talk. It's very different to what we've seen in other streams. So hopefully, it's a good example. We've got Uncle. He's calls himself Ulrich, but I call him Uncle in real life. And we've got Baron. Let's just click through these, I suppose, really quickly. Peace be upon you too, and Ahmadi Islam, but Indian version. I mean, I don't think that. But yeah, it's not really Hinduism. But anyway, so shall we whiz through this as fast as possible? Do you want to give your point? But first, no, you're cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go through my points really fast because I want to give Bashir a chance because he wanted to suggest some new ideas as well. Let's do this quickly. So I'm gonna make it so it's easy for people to understand my point of view. Um, yeah, so the whole topic started off with there was a YouTuber who's many people searching into Islam at the moment, fastest growing religion in the world, and they're looking at the Quran. And one YouTuber said something, and it made me think. Like I already realized this was a bit of an issue with the difference between Sunni Muslim and Ahmadi Muslims. That Sunni Muslims believed that hell is forever, and I thought, for me, it can't take that seriously. Like that's really insulting to God. Like the most merciful God would punish people infinitely. But anyways, an English or not, sorry, a Westerner had the same opinion. He's trying to look at Islam objectively, the Quran objectively, and he thought, how do you explain that? Whenever I debate things, I don't try to be all about just being academically correct or just the. I mean, I don't want to be wrong academically, but it's like, what's the point of this discussion? It's to bring people closer to the beautiful teaching of Islam, and we can't have a insulting idea of Islam. And if when God says He's the most kind, the most gracious, the most merciful, and then we say that He punishes forever, it's a really terrible thing to say. But just to make things really easy, right from the beginning, okay. There's a. Have you ever heard of Shabir Ali, Dr. Shabir Ali? Right. Okay. Cool.
Totally, totally.
Yeah, so he basically he agrees with me that heaven, sorry, hell cannot be forever. And so I summarized, as usual. I always have my document and all the links and everything that you can see in this document. Um, in the description so you can go through this document yourself. But I tried to summarize his arguments in this video. He basically said the same kind of stuff I'm saying. Um, his argument is that, if you got the most merciful God, then you can't punish infinitely. That doesn't make sense for finite sins. No human being would do something like that, and so it doesn't make sense to. And God is more kind than any human being because He's the most merciful. So for people who don't know, that's the most repeated verse. The beginning of every chapter of the Quran is, "I am in the name of God, Allah." The most gracious, that means the one who gives the most without even asking, and the most merciful. Okay, so how can he be the most merciful, more merciful than any human being, and a human being would not punish infinitely? Anyway, so that's one. And then he said, he also said the forever is, you can call it metaphorical or just your experience. So, like, if you say something is, his example was, which I'm saying as well, like if you're on a really long journey, go, oh, is it, this is taking forever. It doesn't literally mean forever, but there's potential in the Arabic lexicon. That means like the detailed dictionary. For it to mean literally forever, but he said, we know it's not forever because of the context of what the Quran actually says. You can't take it, you can never believe it's forever. So he says, he says, the Quran itself, like you can see, says and you'll be in hell for a very long time, basically, but until heaven and hell are both destroyed. So you might say, well, heaven's supposed to be forever, but then according to this understanding, well, it's definitely in the Quran that it says, so long as the heavens and the earth endure, so as long as they exist. So immediately we can't ignore what the Quran is saying. So immediately we can say, okay, well, these things, neither of them will exist forever, but the gift of the reward, okay, will not be cut off. So that's not mentioned regarding the hell. Um, so what else did you say? And you also mentioned something I'm going to mention later on, but I might as well mention here. You said also in the Quran it says, "My mercy encompasses all things." Or I think, I made this note really quickly. I think he said something along those lines. But the Quran certainly has that, and I got the reference there. I call it 7157, but you might call it 7156 of the Quran. So that's just to make it really easy for people to go, maybe, when I'm saying is that I'm a Muslim, people are very quick to jump to the conclusion I must be wrong because I'm in a minority group. Just to make you think twice, listen to this video, listen to his logic. He's a famous Sunni Muslim, so that's something for you to think. I'm not really here to absolutely convince people. I don't want to say I don't care if people are convinced or not. I do care. I make an effort, but I'm not. It's it's between you and God. I think a logical and reasonable understanding of the Quran is more acceptable to human beings who want to be, you know, stick to the truth, the reality as much as possible. You can't give up on your logic in some places of the Quran and accept it in other places. So just very quickly now, those were his arguments, but he didn't give some other arguments. I'm going to do this really quickly. Um, so uh, yeah, or maybe he didn't. Yeah, he didn't mention this thing. So gift that shall not be cut off. Okay, he does go. I summarized his arguments really quickly. He does say there is a famous scholar of the past that rejected that hell will be forever, but you can listen to his video. But anyway, a gift that shall not be cut off. So if you try to claim in the Arabic that Khalidina fiha, which is often translated as they will live in forever, that it means forever, then the the sentence, a gift that shall not be cut off, does not make sense. So let me read this whole thing. But as for those who will prove fortunate, they shall be in heaven, abiding therein or living therein. That means khalidina fiha, as long as the heavens and the earth will endure. So other Sunni Muslims will translate that as forever, and then uh, abiding then there forever. But I've just translated it as abiding therein, or me or the Ahmadi Muslims translate it. It means staying in there for a very long time. You could add that in. But oh, so long for a long time for so long. Yeah, I put simple words. Sorry, sometimes I dumb things down even more. So, uh, but if you're saying it's for forever, so maybe I could have put a crossed out version of forever or something. Then it doesn't make sense to also say that it won't be cut off, because that's superfluous. You've already said it's forever, so there's no point saying it'll be cut off. It doesn't make sense. Okay. If Khalidina fi, yes, I already just said that. Then some very other quick arguments that I made earlier on. If Allah is the most gracious, the merciful, this is the way Allah chooses to introduce Himself effectively. This is the most important thing that God wants to tell you about Him over and over in the beginning of every chapter. He's the most gracious, the most merciful. These words mean, because they come from the Arabic and the translation is always weak in English compared to anything that can be said in Arabic. It means the one who gives without even expecting anything back. That's Rahman. And the most merciful, he. One meaning is that I'll focus on the meaning here, merciful, like being kind, letting you, forgiving, right? So if you have that understanding of God, then you can understand God can um, reward you because He's the most gracious, but He can't punish you infinitely for limited sins if He's the most merciful. So that's that explanation. Somebody in the last video we did last time in Bashir's channel, at what was his name, Habib Kijara, commented, and I think I've seen this before in other people, so I've linked to our last video together. Says Allah is merciful, Allah is severe in punishment. That was his argument. So essentially, what he hasn't realized, he says he believes Allah is the most merciful and also the most merciless. This is a contradiction. It's a shameful contradiction, insulting contradiction. So people don't realize what they're saying when they're saying these things. Then the Quran says, "My mercy encompasses all things." That means uh, it overcomes any wrath he might have for his creation or whatever. Um, Surely Allah wrongs not anyone, but there's a hadith that I'm going to reference, I think, lower. Maybe I'll talk through it really quickly, but it references this verse of the Quran, I think. Surely Allah wrongs not anyone, even by the weight of an atom, and if there be a good deed, He multiplies it and gives it from Himself a great reward. So even if you did even the smallest thing that was good, so like you can be Hitler, but you happen to do one good thing, God will reward you for that. He will not let you off that thing. So either it means you're not going to be in hell forever, or you're going to be rewarded in hell, which hell stops being hell really if you start being rewarded in there. However, according to this verse of the Quran, Allah multiplies any good thing you did. Okay, so therefore heaven can be forever. Whoever who's, I think, is this the same? And it's the same sort of thing. I do make these notes quite quickly. As for him whose scales are light, hell will be his. Okay, so this is really important for me. Okay, for me, from a logical point of view, this is a really key point, or not even a logical point of view, really understanding God's purpose. Like God, from my understanding, doesn't really have wrath or anger. He wants you to be successful. You're all God's children. Okay, people don't like this terminology, whatever. Like God's creation and children, not literal children, but God's creation, and God wants to be kind to you, right? God is more kind to you than your own mother. Okay, he's the most gracious, the most merciful. Okay, so what is the point of hell in that scenario? It's rehabilitation. He wants you to be really successful, but sometimes you mess up so many times and you're not learning. Therefore, in this verse, hell is your mother, right? Even Rahman and Rahim, those words, the gracious, the merciful, come from womb, which means to develop you, right? It's like a womb. So that you're always within the development or womb of God. If people don't like that terminology, I'm trying to keep it simple, but people don't realize Rahman is linked to word, sorry, Rahman and Rahim are both linked to the word Rahim, which means womb. Okay, and what's the point of that? It's a very caring way of describing that God is continuously developing you, even after this life, whether you go to hell or heaven, you're always developing. Okay, and so the point of this scenario, or this phrase that he is your mother, is that it's supposed to rehabilitate you, to grow you out of the damage you did to your soul. And once you've overcome that, that's it. You're not always within the womb of that particular womb, right? You're being taken care of or developed to an extent, and once you've overcome, you've been rehabilitated, you come out of that stage. I'm wary of reading this long hadith, but again, it refers to that verse of the Quran that I mentioned earlier on, that Allah wrongs not even of the weight of an atom, but if there is good, He doubles it. So all I would say is this very long saying of Prophet Muhammad hadith means that um, what does it mean? Sorry, what is it saying, to paraphrase? Basically, it has these different stages where Allah is finding excuses to take people out of hell. There's kind of the the, the Muslims. They say, please, I want to. There's a word for it. I can't remember, but basically they ask God, please, can you take this person out of hell because I knew him? And God says, okay. Then there's even worse people, and the prophets talk on their behalf, and they say, okay, sure, I'll take this person out of hell. And then the really worst people who've got nothing good about them, Allah is the one who takes them out of hell, because He's the most merciful. There's nobody more merciful, no prophet, no person more merciful than Him. And that's very consistent, I think, with the Quranic idea. So that's Sahih al-Bukhari, and I've got a reference to that. And then there was one argument that I couldn't respond to last time. Okay, so which I'll get to at the end, because I think, and I'm almost there. Um, this needs to be explained first. So every time the Quran compares heaven and hell directly, you can say they're next to each other, then the Quran always makes heaven look longer. So I've already done the first example where almost pretty much the same thing is said about heaven and hell, except for at the end about heaven it says a gift that will not be cut off. Okay, and both the usual, words abiding therein, and I can't remember. Does it say was? I can't remember now. Khalidina fiha. Yeah, both of them are Khalidina fiha. Okay. So both have got these words that supposedly mean forever, but when it comes to heaven, it's got this extra thing to say it won't be cut off, and it kind of doesn't make sense if it's already saying forever. Example 2, that's the original example I gave last time. This one says Khalidina fiha, and it says abadan, I think. Abadan for. So again, when it's talking about hell, it just says Khalidina fiha, and when it talks about heaven, it says Khalidina fiha abadan. So abadan means like really long. and I am going to I'm going to leave the lexicon. I'm going to get to the lexicon thing in a second, but I said, where is it? Where's the? Oh yeah, this is the one thing that got me last time, which is it said Khalidina fiha abadan also for hell, but only when it's being described by itself. So both of them extremely long, heaven and hell, extremely long, really painful. God wants you to know that try not to mess up in this life because it's going to be really long. Okay. Um, uh, but when heaven and hell are described next to each other, heaven is made to look longer, and very similar words are used for both. Okay, so why would God do that? Why would God make you get the impression that heaven is longer? Uh, and also, it kind of breaks down the whole idea. You can't have one infinity and another infinity being longer than the other infinity. Like if hell is infinitely long, how can heaven be in even longer than infinity? It doesn't make any sense. So it's very easy to see that hell cannot be forever. um and then I want to, because I don't really like talking too long, I looked into what is called a lexicon. Lane's lexicon is a famous lexicon regarding the words Khalid and Abadan. And just look at this understanding of Khalid is very almost it's funny, right? So they have what you call concrete understandings of the meaning of these words, okay? And one of them is these three rocks. Khalid means, so in the times when people were Bedouin and they had tents for houses, their houses wouldn't stay around for long. They would just run out of water and move on to the next point in Arabia. And so their houses would not stay long, but these rocks where they put their cooking pots would stay much longer, but not really forever. But they seem relatively much longer because they're nomads walking around the desert and go, oh, look, those rocks are still there. So it's definitely not forever, but it seems forever in comparison in their experience. One you might, for people who are really interested, this one very quick idea: what is the difference between uh, Khalid and Abadan? Well, one difference, although they both have this meaning, it could mean forever and all this kind of stuff. One difference, a very interesting one, is it means time in the absolute sense. So something that's really long, but in the absolute sense. What does that mean? Very quickly, um, something can be long but seem short in feeling experience. So Khalid seems to be referring to the experience, and Abadan seems to be referring to the absolute time. So it's not only going to feel really long, it's also going to actually be really long. And to maybe explain that, I think there's a really good example of that is when you die, the time between when you die and the next life appears could be 1 trillion years, but we're told that it will only feel for some reason, for some people, only 1 or 2 days. They feel like they've lost consciousness, or they were in a state of their soul was on the development phase where they could get to the next life. It would only feel like a few days. So you can have a really long time and the experience can be really short. Thank you very much for listening to all of that, Bashir. Really patiently appreciate it. So I'll stop sharing that. Yeah.
Sounds good, brother. Can you scroll to the top of your
Yeah, sure.
just because I don't exactly remember, man.
Sure, of course, man. I talked for a long
And
time.
look, I try to tell people, don't think I memorize everything people say. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone can unless you're taking notes. You might,
We're just trying our best,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you scroll to the very top?
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's still not.
This is
It's
the,
still a little.
this is
Oh, that's where it
This
starts.
is
So,
this
so
is like
okay,
why I bothered talking about this.
got it,
And
got it.
then
Okay, so
I do you
let me tell you about Shabir Ali because I watched the
yeah,
video. Here's what I think, and
cool.
we'll start with this. There's a
Yeah.
hypothetical, and in the Quran, Allah talks about the hypothetical. If I wished, I could have did this. If I wished, here's the verse. If Allah had wished, he could have made you guys all in one community or something like that, right? Do you know the verse I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
Chapter 16, verse 93. Had Allah
Okay.
willed, He would have made you one community, but He leads astray whom He wills, and He guides whom He wills. This is chapter 16, verse 93 from Quran.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so firstly, Ibn Taymiyyah, which is Sheikh al-Islam, no doubt, no doubt. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim was the follower of Ibn Taymiyyah or his student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Basically, anything from Ibn Qayyim could be from Ibn Taymiyyah. Same thing, right?
sure,
They were discussing the hypothetical, in my opinion. From
sure.
what I've read, I watched his video. I watched Yasser Qadi. I watched like 7, 8 videos on this whole thing. They're explaining the hypothetical. Now, brother, what's Allah gonna do once it's all over and we're in Jannah with him? We don't
I don't
know.
know.
What if he says, what if he says, I'm gonna create another creation?
Well,
What
no,
if,
he makes promises. He's clear on his promises. So there's different, the way, like you gave a hypothetical, God says, I could have done this, but I won't do this. He was quite clear that it's not hypothetical. You read that verse of the Quran. I could have made everybody a tribe, but I didn't.
if
Okay. But
if
there's
I
the
wish?
example I gave wasn't like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Allah wished, He could. He's like, look, I can do whatever I want. Now, what's gonna happen in Jannah? Okay, do we all get a planet?
I
No,
mean,
listen to me. Listen
I'm
to
not
me.
interested in random hypothetical. God tells you what He wanted to tell you, and that's it, really.
But
So
so
it'll be a
so
very long time. That's
yeah.
it.
Well, so we okay. So I'm saying Ibn Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah, they seem to be alluding to the hypothetical. What are the angels going to do when it's all over?
So I'm not concerned. Yeah, I'm just not
No, no.
bothered about. Yeah,
Well, so my point
yeah.
is, if we go down this road of what does Allah choose to do with hell? What does Allah choose to do with Jannah? What does Allah choose to do? We don't know. Remember, He's Rabbil Alameen, Allah, with the Ayin, Lord of
Okay.
all. We don't know.
Sure.
We show up to Jannah, He's got other creations running around. We
Yeah.
don't know,
Sure.
right? We have no idea what's going to happen. So, in my opinion, all the research that I've done, everything I've learned from you actually, because by us having this discussion, right, I was able to go read about it and learn and etc. So I think it's purely the hypothetical, is what that they were surmising or what they were trying to bring to the table, saying, look, we don't know what happens after that. Allah didn't tell us. What if Allah has another creation He made before us and He's going to join us or something? We're not told, right? So anyhow, and I had mentioned this coming out of yeah. So can I share my screen
Yeah.
real
Sure. Yep. Is
quick?
it? Can you do it? I mean, I'll remove this thing. So I just responded
Let
to
me see
this
if this works.
comment.
Does that
And
work?
saying that. Oh yeah. Cool. There you go. Yeah.
So okay. This is being discussed these days. Ghazwa Hind. There's like another one too. This is like a shorter one, right? But the Messenger of Allah said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there are two groups of my ummah whom Allah will free from the fire. So now we're coming into another concept. There are Muslims that are in Jahannam that Allah is going to allow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to intercede in some cases, and I haven't fully understood that how that's going
Mhm.
to work. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will intercede and say, "No, Bashir did the vlog." He's going to say, "No, no, 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 no. Okay, okay."
He can get out. That was a good blog. Hopefully, you never know. You never know what Allah would accept. So,
So all of this was only spoke about for Muslims, not for the kuffar. Look in this hadith. He says, Allah will free from people from the fire, a group that invades India, because maybe they'll commit some war crimes. Maybe some of the soldiers will do something stupid, Or maybe they won't. Maybe a soldier will fight another soldier and say some bad things to him. Whatever. He'll forgive them.
Hmm.
Okay. And the group that's with Isa al-Islam shall also be taken out of the fire. So like these are people who went into the fire, even though they did all these things. Allah's gonna say no, based on so I don't really believe in capitalism in the state that it's in, but in Islam, there's a form of capitalism reward.
You know,
If you
this hadith is not all encompassing. It's just giving you two situations. There's so many other situations that it's not talking about.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's much more to it for the viewers. Don't just take the go and double check, triple check, quadruple check. There's other sources, but this is the nature of Allah. Even when you're a sinner and you went to hell, if you're a Muslim, He got you out of there, right?
We
Um,
agree.
and we agree on that. So again, Allah doesn't say that in the Quran. He doesn't say I will be picking people out of hell if I deem fit. Not exactly for the Muslims.
I think God makes it quite clear with everything we've said already. But yeah.
Right. But so you mentioned 7 sins that he'll never forgive, right? And one of them was shirk. He'll never forgive. Stealing from the orphans.
So do you
He'll
really
never.
believe? So no. Okay. So he won't forgive that in this life. But if you're really saying that claim, that means so many of the best Muslims will never be forgiven. Like Hazrat Umar, all the top Muslims, they were all idolaters. They had shirk. They did shirk.
Unless you repent and become a Muslim. See, there's that caveat, and it's in the Quran
Is
20
that say
times.
that? Okay, I'll
Unless you
check that.
repent, not that. Okay, brother, look, I was, in my opinion, and let me apologize. I was a Qadiani Amdi for 35.
Mm,
Allah forgave me when I became a Muslim. Every time I pray, I ask for forgiveness. So
mm.
we all ask for
Oh,
forgiveness
that's good. It's
every
always
day
good. Yeah,
for things.
yeah,
Look, I might have said something to someone and I offended him and I didn't know.
yeah.
That happens. Oh, bro, what did I say? I'm
And
so
we
sorry.
overlook our own faults as well. We're blind to our own faults. So
So
yeah, there's me.
Allah says,
Yeah.
if you're a person who can't say sorry to your brother, how are you going to say sorry to Allah?
Mm,
Right? But if you are the person who says sorry to Allah every day, I'm
mm,
sorry, Allah. I yelled at the cat or something. Or me, look, I'm sorry, Allah. I was aggressive on that guy on the basketball court and I really hurt him. I didn't mean it. He thought I meant it, but I didn't mean it. So my whole point with showing this was that, and I wanted to show something else. So here we go. So that's one. How are we doing on time? So okay. Oh, so here's a verse of the Quran with verse of the Quran. Okay, so here's the one, chapter 16, verse 93. Had had Allah willed, He could have did this. Whatever Allah wishes, He's doing. Okay, it's not on us.
But then he clarifies straight away. If Allah willed, he could have done this, but he leads astray whom he wills.
So
So he
listen.
clarifies his will.
So if you're bad, and He knows, because there's free will here. So remember, everything's written. I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah.
Everything you do, it's written. Whether you're going to heaven and hell, it's already written down.
Sure.
No
God
matter what,
knows.
because Allah knows what you're gonna do before you even do it, and He says Allah will lead you astray. All right, Allah will push you further out. And of course, I'm going to bring up chapter 2. Is it verse 7? Hatam Allahu ala qulubihim. He sealed their hearts, their mouth, and their eye. Allah's saying Hitler ain't getting out of hell, bro. Netanyahu ain't
I'm
getting
just
out.
laughing because the Quran also talks about people. Allah deals with people according to the what's the word, the their own behavior, right? So you do have free will. It's not like God's like already decided to punish you beforehand or something. Like you have free will, but Allah knows what you're going to do. How does he know that? You can have all sorts of theories, like he can bend time, or he's just really smart because you can guess what you're going to do, whatever. But it doesn't stop you from having free will.
Yeah. So one more thing. The concept of time. What do you mean a long time? bro, there's no more time. When this world ends, the entire scenario of time is over.
We don't know that.
No,
We know that according to physics, yes, the limited idea of physics that time exists, time and space are connected, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean what you don't know what happens in heaven.
so
How
we
that
don't know what a day even is. We won't have to sleep. Imagine a world. Imagine a world
it
where
doesn't say that either, but yeah, we don't know.
I
Yeah.
so we're not going to need food. There's food available, but we're
Sure,
not
you
going to
could be
need it.
right. What you're saying makes sense that it doesn't have, but we don't. I don't like. Well, I don't want to guess what's happening. I'm not gonna waste my time like assuming lots of things about heaven and hell.
So that's, in my opinion, what Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim did. They were bored. They said, let's go into the hypothetical."
No, it's based on what the Quran actually said.
Yeah.
That's
So
what we're
so
talking
okay,
about. What the
you had
Quran
said,
says all over the Quran about God
yeah.
and
So you had also said, Haladina Fiha Abadan was about heaven and hell simultaneously in that one verse, right?
Sure, in the one verse that's not comparing like with like, not heaven and hell. But okay, let me put this to you, right? Because I made us a point. So why, when heaven and hell are compared, next to each other, why does God always make heaven look longer? Like he says something in addition for heaven in terms of time. Why? Why would God try to confuse you if it was wrong? If it was
Yeah,
wrong impression?
and I have a verse for that. So hold on, hold on. And I found this on the fly. As I was sitting there, I was like, oh, that okay. So when heaven and hell were combined, it said Haladina Fiha. I was like, oh, actually, I didn't look for that. But in chapter 3364 here, let me just pull it up. Um, Al-Azab, yeah, it's it right here. 3364 is that? Can you? Okay. 3364. So as I read through it, let's look at the context. Oh, people, ask your prophet about the hour. The hypocrites. Okay, you will. Okay, etc. The hour is near. So Allah condemns. Now heaven's not mentioned here. Surely Allah condemns the believers and has prepared for them uh,
سعيرا.
a blazing fire. Okay, to stay there. Halidina fiha. Heaven's not mentioned in any of these I mean, I'm going back 5, 6,
I'm
7.
just checking you understood my point. When they're next to each other, right, described one after the other, why does Allah always make heaven look longer? He adds abadan in one case, that means really long time. In another case, he says, this will not be taken off, this will not end. I will not stop this blessing in terms of heaven. So it's always making heaven look longer than hell. Why would
Right,
God
but
answer one question?
in this case, heaven's not even mentioned.
I know that's okay. Maybe you didn't understand my point. It's like when it's by itself, right? Then you can say Khalidina fiha because both of them means really, really long time, and abadan means really, really long time, right? But why, when they're compared right next to each other, one verse and then the next verse, or it might take one verse to actually say who is talking about, like is the people going to heaven, right? But people basically putting them right next to each other, they use the same words to describe them, except for when it comes to heaven, it will say an extra thing to make heaven look even longer than whatever hell is. Why does God do that?
Yeah, I'm still not quite understanding. It seems like you're saying
Shall
when
I show
heaven.
you again?
Well, let me see if I got it.
Okay.
I think you're saying when heaven and hell are mentioned in the same sentence.
Yeah,
It,
but they're,
it
they're mentioned after, straight after each
straight
other.
after each other. It's Haladina Fiha Abadan is what you said, right?
Yeah, so one, it's got just Khalidina fiha, which is hell, and then when it comes to heaven, it says Khalidina fiha abadan,
When
right?
it's
That's
both
one
of them.
example. Yeah, when they're right next to each other, right? And then there's another example where it says one is Khalidina and the other one is Khalidina as well. But heaven, so in heaven and hell, in the second, this other example I gave, it says they say the same words, Khalidina, Khalidina, for both heaven and hell. But when it comes to heaven, it says a gift that will not be stopped. Like
Yeah.
why?
So you're saying when heaven and hell are mentioned together, it says the Quran says Haladina fiha abadan. The extra word abadan is there when they're
That's
mentioned.
one example, and then
That's
there's a second
right.
example where
But wait,
yeah,
wait, wait, wait,
yeah.
wait, wait. But hold that point. But chapter 33, verse 64, 65, and all the 60s, heaven is not even mentioned. It's only hell, and the word abadan is there.
Okay,
You can see it right there. I just went through the verses.
I
Is heaven
know.
even
I've
mentioned?
already talked about that. Yeah.
But this seems to contradict what the
No,
argument you're
it's not.
making.
I don't know if you understood it. Like when they're next to each
Pull
other,
up the verse.
right? Yeah. I don't want to bore people. If they've understood it, they've understood it. Um, shall I pick it up? Put it up again. Okay. So do I need to do that and then share again? Okay. Um, so am I doing this right? I need to grab that, put it on that screen, put this on this screen, and then okay. So look, I got like so people can look at this like example one and example two is coming up. So example one, okay. You've got these two verses, 108, 109, right next to each other, and pretty much the same words, abiding therein. They're talking about hell in this case, because it's the verse before says it's talking about hell. Abiding therein, so long as the heavens and the earth endure, except what thy Lord may will. Uh, Surely he brings about what he pleases. And look at this, almost the same. And then there's the fortunate abiding in heaven, abiding therein so long as the heavens and the earth endure. Same words, accepting that what thy Lord may will. Again, the same words. Then on top of that, it says a gift that not will not be cut off. So you can see you got the mirror image stuff going on here. Same stuff, except for uh, you've got this additional thing to make heaven look longer. Like it's all the same stuff. And then you got another example, the one with Abadan. So you got one's just got Halidina Fiha, or Halidina is the bit that means a long time. And then this one, so again, verses right next to each other. So this one, say verse 6. Okay, this is verse 8 because verse 7 is introducing who it's talking about. So they really are next to each other. Um, but this one's got Abadan stuck on. So, like when they're compared right next to each other, verily those who disbelieve will be in the hellfire, staying there for a long time. And then when it comes to those people who are good, the righteous, they're all to be the gardens in eternity. Uh, Basically the same words. Khalidina fiha in one. The other one is also Khalidina fiha, but this one throws on the abadan next to each other. So why does God confuse people if he didn't want to make heaven look longer? I don't know if that makes sense. If it doesn't
Oh,
make sense,
it's just a technicality, but brother. So Jannah,
okay,
we know
fine.
it existed forever. It's existed before. It's going to exist later. Again, there are some of these insinuations. Again, what is Allah going to do after? There's a famous
I
quote
think
from.
you didn't answer the. I would just for record, as they say, you didn't answer the point. You just said technicality. That's not
Oh,
even an
well,
answer.
what was the point? What was the
Anyway,
point? Say,
you just said it's a technicality. These are technical points. These are logical points. Everything's a technicality. But I'm not going to stick on it. I'm like, you
no, no,
gave your
no, no.
argument. I gave my argument. Everybody can make of it as they wish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, I'm affirming that it's just a technicality. Hataman Nabiyeen is not Hataman Mursaleen or something like that. You see what I mean?
I'm not going to go into some sidetrack. Anyway,
But
yeah.
no, I'm just saying. Why is it written like this or written like that? Sometimes hell is not written as Abadan. We've showed it is in some cases. Why? Again, for the shortness of words, to make it rhyme, to make it.
You're
Well,
really
well,
insulting the Quran now just to
no,
make it rhyme.
wait. Does the Quran? Do you know it rhymes?
It does rhyme, but it doesn't put random words just to make it rhyme. It's a
No.
perfect book. The meaning is more important. Yeah.
Right, but the words aren't fully explained in full detail in a lot of cases. So I'm saying if people question why isn't it Halidina fiha abadan every time hell comes, it's a technical question. It comes in three times. I found the three times, and it said forever and ever and ever. Again, if we delve into the hypothetical, so I was going to tell you that there's a guy, Qasim Nanotvi. I'm sure I'm not sure if you heard of him, but he said Allah could create another group of people and have another Hatam Nabi. You see what I mean? And so Ahmadis have taken that and said, look, this guy said there could be more prophets. No, he presented a hypothetical equation and said, hey, do with it what you want. This is the hypothetical, right? So, okay, let me just show a few more things and
I
then
agree
I'm
with your
done.
unpopular opinion, Pariah. You got such a funny. Sorry, I just put it on the screen. Go on, you carry on. Yeah.
So yeah, okay, this isn't okay. So I go to present. Uh, which one is this? Actually, I don't remember.
Shall I stop my one? I suppose, and
Okay,
then
chapter
yeah, there we go.
41:12.
Yeah.
What does he say here? So he formed the heavens into seven heavens in 2 days. Uh, okay, I can't remember why I had this one up. Let me just close it. Pull up a
Okay.
different one. Hold on. And I'm just going through
Yeah.
the screens that I had open because I don't remember. Oh
Okay.
yeah, so Allah is the person who
Should I put
seals
it on
the
the
hearts.
screen again, or no? Is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
a different?
Put on the. Yeah. So
Okay.
look,
Yeah.
chapter 2, verse 7. Allah seals their hearts. Allah seals their mouth. Allah seals their ears. They can't hear anything. Anything we say, they can't. They're destined for hell. He made human beings, and he knew they were going to go to hell. He knew they were going to be bad people. He knows everything, right? Um.
Sure.
So okay. Let me take that one off, and I'm just slowly.
How does that
Uh,
change the length of time? Like, oh, you mean the seal is permanent? Is that what you're saying?
it's a permanent seal. So okay,
Okay, that's
I showed
okay.
you
Okay.
1693. I showed you that. Let me just make sure I went through everything. I had those. Okay, Taqdeer, we talked about that. I got another Sahih Muslim open. I don't know why I had this, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got.
Great. So now what we'll do is I always respect and value all the comments. So I think we've gone through the main ones up to a certain point. So this is the one I haven't responded to this. Ramiz Jumam says, so hell is limited and heaven is unlimited. The two mirror verses, is that like a promise of Allah? I suppose everything that God claims will happen is a promise, isn't it? Like if God says something is going to happen, that's a promise. What do you think? Do you agree with that, Bashir? If God says something will happen, is effectively a promise?
I'm not sure the context.
Like if God says heaven and hell are a really long time, is that a
Well,
promise?
it's open to interpretation what Allah said. You know what I
Okay, I
mean?
think if God says something in the Quran, he wouldn't say it unless he's definitely going to do it. Like he wouldn't say, "Hang on a minute, I didn't mean to say that. I've just put in the Quran by accident." I don't believe that.
So remember, Muslims prayed to Jerusalem, and it was in the Sunnah until it was changed. So, you know, uh, I don't really follow because things change all the time.
Certain things can change, yeah. Why not? Why not the direction we pray in, right? But God didn't make a promise that you would always pray in a certain direction anyway. Just another good argument, a good point. Long time torture. Do we allow torture in modern society? So basically, um, he's saying that if God is all merciful, then why would he torture people where in our modern civilized society we don't torture people? And I think that's a really good point. And I'll say people torture themselves already. They already create hell for themselves in this life, right? What is depression? What is all these things? These are signs to help you be better people. So when you're doing something wrong, God like nudges you through your conscience and you actually torture yourself. People torture themselves so much they literally commit suicide because when they're doing things that are living godless lives. That's why people are suffering so much from depression. Depression is really painful stuff. People kill themselves for it. It's so bad, right? So do we do is God worse than human beings because he doesn't because human beings don't necessarily torture. Well, God doesn't torture needlessly. It's for a greater good for yourself, right? Like God really wants you to be a beautiful creation, and you're letting yourself down, and He does whatever the minimum needed to make you a better person. And in societies where people don't punish, let's say, right? So when they don't punish, people become even worse. So when you don't imprison people or don't do the right thing, and I don't believe in the prison system as it exists right now, because people just throw the key away sometimes, and they don't try to develop the human beings. That's what God always does, always tries to develop you. So it's not torture needlessly. It's the minimum needed to make you a better person. But sometimes people don't make themselves don't choose better for themselves. So that's the best I. Is that? Oh, thanks. Appreciate your response from that. I appreciate it. I mean, do you want to say anything about that? Like, do you? I think unpopular opinion pariah kind of agreed with my understanding of his question, which is essentially that is God worse than human beings if human beings don't torture and God does? What do you think, Bashir? It's a
You're
deep
saying,
question.
okay, look. My dad tortured me. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know look.
Oh
It
no,
was
in some civilized societies they don't have punishments. Let's say they supposedly civilized societies. You know what I mean? Like they don't, like somebody kills somebody and say, "Oh, we'll let you off. We have to be kind." You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of countries and states where they don't really punish people anymore, and Islam has really tough punishments. Like if you murder somebody, you should be killed yourself, right? Unless you rehabilitate yourself, like in
no.
Islam.
If it's unjust, if you kill a Muslim unjustly, like you don't
Yeah,
have a
I
reason to.
mean, I'm just trying to clarify. Like, Islam does have punishments where you are also killed for killing somebody else, right? But also there are all these ways of getting out of it. But I don't want to make it too complicated. But my real point was that in modern societies, in a lot of modern societies, they don't really want to punish people because they're like, oh, it's too harsh. You don't want to punish people. He only made a mistake 10 times or something, and he only stole whatever. There's too many excuses not to punish, and some people see that as civilized, not to punish at all, and let people become worse and worse criminals and harm the rest of society. They see that as civilized, right? So, but God punishes. So, what's your answer? I mean, I gave one answer. I want to be fair. Like you give your answer. What would be your answer to such a comment?
Yeah, I'm not following why Western culture would rather spend $1 million and put a guy in a cell for 40 years instead
It
of
does
he's a
literally
murderer.
cost 1 million, I think. Yeah.
If he's admitting to murder, if he's admitting to rape, if he's admitting now, okay, if there's
And he has no regret as well
and he had
sometimes.
no, and so if there's a case we don't know, we can't prove it, okay, you know what I mean? But let's not waste our money. But in America, going to jail is a big business. It's big business in America. I think with the
Yeah,
most
it's
people in
basically
jail in the
enforced
world are in
slavery.
America. Is that
Yeah.
accurate? We got the most people in jail.
They've got a lot of people, especially a lot of black people, and they make them do free work. So it's enforced slavery. Yeah.
Not exact. They don't do that anymore.
They
Not
don't do
as
that
much.
anymore? Oh, okay.
No, like
Maybe I'm
like
out
the
of
chain
touch.
gangs and stuff.
Oh,
Because
they
there
don't.
used to be
I
chain gangs.
thought they did.
Maybe in the maybe in some rural area,
Oh,
they're
okay.
still
Maybe
allowing
I'm
it.
out
But
of touch. Okay, yeah.
I know some people need to
I
be
mean, even if
smacked.
they're working inside for free, inside the prisons, it's still enforced slavery. I'll check this up, I suppose.
Oh yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think I read how people say slavery didn't end in America because if you go to jail, you're essentially a slave.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, America and the West has this fascination with not punishing. I don't really understand it. I understand that people are bad in their DNA, because I'm a Muslim. And the verses that I forgot to show you. Here, pull this up. This is the last one. I'm gonna
Yeah.
prove that human beings are bad and they
I
deserve it.
disagree, but
No,
let's see. Let's see
no,
what
no.
you come up
So
with.
look. So first, chapter 7, verse 18, he told him, "Get out of Jannah." Right? Allah said, "Get out of here. You are disgraced." He was talking to Shaitan, I think. or
Maybe
yeah, he was
Adam.
talking to Shaitan.
Okay.
Shaitan
Yeah.
appealed, hey, delay my end until the day of resurrection. He said, okay, get
Mhm.
out of here, right? So he tells them to leave. Okay. Uh, and then Satan tempted them. All right. Uh, and he said something like they will create disorder in the world. Oh,
Yeah.
and I sent it to you.
Bloodshed.
Hold on.
Yeah.
7:18, 7:24. Oh, descend as enemies of each other.
This is not everybody. It's people who listen to Satan, right?
No, no. So look. By reading this verse and other ones, Allah is telling us the natural resources on earth are going to be hard to get. They're mostly in Africa. Europe didn't have sugar. Okay, they need their sugar. How are they going to go get their sugar? Sugar doesn't grow in a colder climate, right?
Okay.
In
Sure.
Ireland, uh, when they brought potatoes from the New World, because potatoes didn't exist, right? Nor did the pineapple. You know, the pineapple is South America. It's what the Europeans tried to explain it. What is it? It's a pineapple because it looked like a pine cone, but it's like
Okay.
it tastes like an apple. Anyhow, Allah's telling us you're on this planet, you're going to be fighting each other till Isa al-Islam comes, until the last hour. Now, remember, when has there been peace
Are you
on this
saying all
planet?
people are bad? They're in their DNA, and because the Prophet
Majority, in
Muhammad. Okay,
vast,
majority.
vast majority. Look, has there been peace on this earth since World War II?
Okay, sure. I thought you said by default or their DNA they're necessarily going to be bad or something like that.
No,
Or
Allah has already written who's going to hell and who's going to heaven.
okay,
It's all written, right?
sure.
So whoever is hellbound, that they're it's in their DNA to be bad.
Mhm.
They still got free will, so they make all the wrong. I'm sure you know people who make the wrong decision. Like look, I'll give you an example. When I was 18, I told all my friends, "Hey, join the military with me. College will be free. We get all these benefits." They were like, "No, they'd rather go get a loan for 100,000 and go to college." Now they're
Sure, there's
still in
bad
debt.
people.
They're still in debt. And I told them 20 years ago, 25 years ago, what the solution is. But they didn't choose it. They chose a different route because my solution was too hard. Who wants to get their head shaved and their face shaved and get yelled at? You know what I mean? That's not something people sign up to go do, you know? You know what I mean? And for people to be racist, they're going to be racist. They're going to be racist, bro.
Hmm.
So anyhow, my opinion, this verse and other verses, we're on this planet. That's why jihad doesn't end until Isa al-Islam comes. That's why all the problems we're going to have. That's why even nafse amara, I can't remember which one. There's the three
Yeah,
nuts,
no,
right?
yeah.
The last one you will only get when you're dead. Right. Wait.
No,
Are you following me? No, because the
none of
soul
them. They're
at
all
rest.
stages that you can get to in this life.
Yeah, and that's the argument that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad made. But he quoted the verse. Hold on, let me pull it up. We pull it up. The soul at rest. He said it's only at rest in the Quran. And see, I'm not ready for this. I don't have the reference. But you're right.
Yeah,
Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said it's not just when you die. You can experience it on this earth, right?
yeah, yeah.
I think you're muted.
Oh, am I muted? Did I
Oh
press the
yeah,
wrong
yeah.
button? Oh,
Yeah, and you're right. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said no, it's not just only when you die, even though that's what the Quran. Can you pull up the verse though?
okay, cool. So, I mean, I'm just looking at. Okay, fine. So, I've looked at all the comments. There's nothing really quite to respond to. So, I'll quickly look that one up. So, what do I need to do? I need to put that there. And then I need to open up a tab and Quran and Oh Soul at Rest. Let me see if it come up.
Oh,
Oh Soul
check,
at
check this out.
Peace.
Check this
Let me
out.
see. Oh,
Chapter 12, verse 53. Here, let me just share this. This is preliminary. I'm not even saying I know what it means. I'm just saying. Chapter 12, verse 53 says,
yeah.
"The soul is inclined to what?
Yes, yeah, the soul. This is the lowest stage
And
of
this was
human
about
being.
Joseph, I think, and etc. So maybe there's more to it. I'm not sure. Don't crucify
Sure.
me. I just found this verse that sort of says it.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a
this is
context.
the Nafsa Amara you're talking about, which is the lowest stage
Okay,
of
so what's
development.
the highest stage? Because I can't remember. Nafse.
Nafsi Mutmainna, which is what you were talking about that I'm going to pull up
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Let's see.
So I'll quickly do it. Let me
Yeah.
see. How do I remove this thing? So if stop sharing, then share, then click on that. Now, I'm not really an expert, but this is my understanding. There's three different stages. How do you prove that they're all during life? Well, this Quran is for people in this life, not in the next life, as far as I understand. So anyway, and thou, O soul at peace, continuing. Oh no, that's just my search. Let me open it properly here.
89,
Oh,
28.
let me share it properly again. So remove, present, no, stop, share. This one, yeah, these different tabs. So, oh soul at peace, return to your Lord. Oh, okay, there's proof already. Return to your Lord. So this is you're already pleased. So when you're before you return to your Lord, your Lord is already pleased with you, and He is already pleased with thee. You no, you're already pleased with Him, and He's already pleased with you. This is before you return to your Lord. Pleased as in past tense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I'm not an
So there's
expert, but
something there. There's something there, and
yeah,
you know what? In the same chapter, I found something else. Let me just show it. I know we're over an hour. Let me just show this one last thing. It's the same chapter, sort of
yeah,
Fajr, I think. And as I scroll up, where did it go? See how it says, on that day he will punish them severely like
yeah.
no other. Okay, all right. So
Sure.
my whole thing is, we say in Punjabi Urdu, I have Khuda the Hof,
Yeah,
and it's something
you have
about the
fear of
Muslim
God.
because
You could have said
Allah.
that in English. Come on, it is easy.
I'm just saying because it sounds better. Doesn't it sound better in Urdu?
I don't
Khuda the Hof.
know. I'm not that. I'm not Pakistani enough to feel that it feels better.
No, bro. Okay, some words in the Urdu Punjabi are just like there's no word like that in English, and I like
Okay.
the phrase "Khuda da hof" is a nice one for me. But that's what I got, brother. Those are my impressions, brother.
Cool. In the coming year, I intend to do a lot less streams, one stream per week. So, um, I will try to keep in touch with Bashir, and we'll try to squeeze this into my happiness course, which is my main focus, where I go through different things, and then maybe it'll be more productive. I'm trying to get to this is good in clearing up some fundamental ideas in terms of ideology and theology, whatever you want to call understanding of the Quran, technical. I don't think it was a waste. Um, but the most thing that give me joy and I feel like I'm most productive are the people who are like listening and they're thinking, I'm going to change my life. And how do you change your life when you go into the things that actually affect our lives and say, how can we improve on that? How can we use the Quran as a tool to improve our lives? This indirectly can improve your life. For example, if you have a better understanding of God, but it's very indirect. And I like the direct stuff. Like, okay, how do you, save the environment, all this kind of stuff. How do you be less anxious? Fear of God is a very good tool, by the way. I talk about, but yeah. So I think we had a really great year. Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to God. That we've got in touch with each other by chance situation. There was some guy called Amir or something. He put us in contact. Was it Amir? Yeah. So something like that. And all sorts of good stuff has happened this year. I'm not going to do like a whole review of this, how good this year was, but I'm very grateful we came across each other and we'll be in contact, but less regularly because I have a huge number of very interesting people. You're one of those interesting people that I circle through. Yeah. So do you want to say anything, last few words before we sign off for this year?
No, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. Always, I'll always thank you for the opportunity to come to your stream and present the views of the Islamic world as best as I can. If I make mistakes, it's from Shaitan. Anything good I gave is from Allah. And my
Agreed.
intention, yeah, and my intention is to always educate and post the data. I don't care who finds it. I'm not a competitive one. I'm not hiding a ref, and I'm gonna show it bang at some time and I'm trying to win or something. I don't want to do any of that. But luckily, Holly's the same way. So we're able to do our work together and the world will benefit. So thank you, Brother Holly, always.
I appreciate everything you just said. I mirror that. If I've made a mistake, it's from Satan, and if I've done anything good, it's from Allah. Allah's controlled my brain and everything. You know what I mean? We do a little bit of God, and Allah highlights those things out of His God's own humility. And I think it's what do you do when you write your blog and stuff like that? Put out in public what you believe. Very few people can do that. So it's I really respect that. All right. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Hope you have a great next year and all that kind of stuff. All right. Salam. Bye. Bye. Not bye. Whatever. Bye bye, everybody else who's not Muslim. I should say that. Cool. Let's end that.